Bonjour everyone and welcome back. So today we're gonna take an in-depth look at my recent addition to the collection. Well, when I say recent, I'm gonna show you everything that I acquired in the last 2 or 3 months. So we're gonna take a look at multiple brands, and I think that might be gonna be a two-part video because we have more than a dozen of cars to show to you, and I don't want to have this video being the longest video ever on YouTube. That's not gonna be a good idea. So yeah, we're gonna split it in two parts, I think. Anyway, so we're gonna take a look at a couple of different brands. I've acquired all of these in different ways. Some are flea market finds, some are online acquisition, and some are store find. So we're gonna start with the store find, which are the only new thing that I'm gonna show you. All of the rest gonna be vintage, and I'm gonna add that this two part gonna be very French car heavy. So if it's not your thing, well, too bad for you. So we're gonna take a look at some Matchbox of this year. We're gonna quickly take a look at this, the 1986 Volvo 240. I say quick look because it's a color, and I already have one of the previous recolor. That's not the first one, there were a blue one first, which I don't have. And yeah, so very nice. Casting from Matchbox, yes. Of a very nice car, yes, thank you. No. Focus, do your thing, please. We have a lot of things to show today. So yeah, simple color, nothing changed except we have a new license plate, but otherwise it's the same wheel, obviously the same casting, but that's obvious. But yeah, no new wheel, a nice recolor, which, you know, sometimes is already a good thing. So then we're gonna move to a new casting. That's this one, the 1994 Toyota RAV4 Off-Road, or All-Road in French. And this one, this time it's correct, even though, as I told last time, I think this is useless. But anyway, so new casting of a very cool retro car now, because yes, 1997 was 30 years ago, so yes, vintage car. So very cool. That was a very fun car back in the day. I think that the following generation of Toyota RAV4 have lost that that unique fun look, because you know this one came in 3 doors. There was also a kinda a convertible style, and all of these type of fun stuff went away with a subsequent generation. It is what it is. Just for fun, we're gonna take a look, do a fun comparison with this one. So this is obviously the same car, but made by some kind of a Chinese brand back in the day. And yeah, obviously it's a China typo, but I thought it was a funny but completely unfair comparison. But yeah, you can see it's very wide for some reason on one side, but not on the other side. But yes,
So yeah, we're gonna do that. You know what? We're gonna leave it behind just for fun purpose.
Next, we're gonna move to something a bit older, yes. So, I have this thing, let's say Norev 5-pack from about 2009 or 10. I bought it in a flea market for about 10 euro. So it was already pre-used, and actually some car have some defect. I didn't notice it when I first bought it. So we have 5 car and those signs and things which we're not gonna take a look at them because we have enough thing to see. So again, so we're gonna start with what about you? So first one is this Opel Corsa OPC, that stands for Opel Performance Center. That was a sport division back until not so long ago. Now they are called, I don't even remember, but anyway. And it's a Opel Corsa D, which means it's the 4th gen, I believe. Yeah, A, B, C, D, thank you. Yes, so from the mid-2000. So the new in the UK as a Vauxhall Corsa, but that's the same car. So yes, 2007 Opel Corsa OPC, and yeah. So you might think that it's a bit unusual that Norev does non-French car, but sometimes they do, because what we have to understand about this Norev 3-inch lineup, most of their casting back then, or I think they still do it this way, the casting are actually ordered from the manufacturer themselves, as you know, merchandising. So each casting of a new car is, like I said, an order from the manufacturer. So if one car exists, is done by Norev, it's because one manufacturer asked them. So usually the French manufacturer asks them often to do that. That's why Norev do mostly French car. I'm talking about in this specific scale. For the larger scale that Norev does, it's a different story, which I'm not gonna talk about it because I'm less familiar about the background. Anyway, but so for the non-French brand like Opel, some did try back then, like Opel, but most of them have stopped doing that, at least in this particular scale, and or at least asking to Norev as to do it. But yes, Opel did it back then, and a few other brands like Volkswagen. So yes, in the 2000, Norev did have a decent amount of non-French casting in their 3-inch lineup. But again, nowadays, it's not the case anymore. So yeah, so yes, so that was this one, a little hot hatch from the 2000s. We're gonna take a look at this one, and now we're gonna go back to France with that car, the Peugeot RCZ, a car from the early 2010s. You can see one of the lens is missing, and I didn't even mention something that these Norev have lens headlight. They have, at the time they had suspension. That's something that they don't do anymore. They have authentic wheel, somewhat of a okay interior. Some of them have opening part, but not these two one. But we're gonna have opening part on these two, but we'll get to them later on. And yeah, and we have some decent amount of tempo. you know, on the front and, well, maybe not on the back because we have red taillight, but red paint, I mean, so no extra tempo. But anyway, so yeah, back to this one, the Peugeot RCZ. So the RCZ was a coupe, or a coupe if you prefer, but since coupe is more or less a French word, I tend to say coupe even when speaking in English, but anyway. So yeah, it was a coupe based on the 308. The 308 being the typical compact sedan in a Volkswagen Golf style. And they did a coupe version, which first started as a concept car back in, which was first shown in around 2007-8, and they did a production version, and for once, the production version looked exactly like the concept car. So yeah, very distinctive looking car with this very unique roof shape. The only car that I can think looking like that would be the Audi TT. So again, we have the authentic wheel, the lens headlight, I'm missing one like I said, and yes, and we have that. I'm curious about something. Is the roof metal? Yes, it is, because they could have chipped out and do the entire roof made out of plastic, but Norev didn't do cheap stuff back in the day. So we have suspension, no metal base. So that's interesting. They call it the Peugeot 308 RCZ, or RCZ if you prefer. That was the name of the concept car. The actual production was just called the RCZ, or Z like I said. Because like I said, they shared the same platform. Front end was somewhat similar and the dashboard was the same. But overall, everything else was perfectly unique to that car, which sold in decent number, like I said, in the early 2010s. Then, so we talk about a car which started its life as a concept car and became reality. Now we're gonna take a look at the opposite. So this is a Citroen C-Metisse. It's a 2006 concept car by Citroen. It was first shown at the 2006 Paris Motor Show. So that concept car, the C-Metisse, that cannot sound to you like a very weird name, and please come do your thing. You can see how it's spent. So C-Metisse, what it means? Well, the C, it's because it's a Citroen. All Citroen of that particular time period start with a Citroen C something, the C4, C8, C7, you know, this car doesn't exist. But you get the point. So Métis, it's a French word which means, how I'm gonna say that, to be a multiracial. You know, when you have a person which have two origin, you know, you half I don't know, half European, half Asian. Well, you are a multiracial person, and in French, the word to describe that is métis, written like that. And so, what it have to do with a car? You might ask. Well, when you think about it, being half something and half something, it's being a hybrid. And so you get the idea now. This concept car was a hybrid. Now, nowadays in 2026, being a hybrid car is pretty much, well, most of the cars now are hybrid, so it's not much a big deal. But back in 2006, outside of Toyota, which was selling the Prius since about a decade and some manufacturer catching up, hybrid was pretty much a new thing. or a fairly recent thing, which was seemed to be the future, and it turned out to be true. So yeah, and so Citroen showed this particular concept car, which was a hybrid diesel. It was a 2.7 diesel V6 with some electric powertrain to become a hybrid. So styling-wise, it didn't lead to anything, but later on, the PAC group, so basically Peugeot and Citroen, now half Stellantis, they did release some diesel hybrid powertrain in their products, such as the Peugeot 508, the Citroen DS5, and a couple of different cars. And that technology was called hybrid 4, I believe. But anyway, so it started all the way with this particular concept, the C-Metisse from 2006. So then we're gonna move to another. So the next car, we have a Renault Laguna Estate from 2007, or starting in 2007, I mean this particular gen. So Laguna, your mid-size car from Renault back in, well, there were 3 generations of the Laguna. The first one started in 1994, the second gen in 2001, and this one was the last one in 2007, which lasted until about 2015. Anyway, so we have the station wagon, or the estate, as Renault was calling the wagon back in the day. Well, it did have multiple names over the year. Previously it was called Nevada. Anyway, so on this one we have an opening part, like I said, with some of Norev casting of the day have opening part, and we have a nice and big trunk because it's a proper wagon. We have the suspension, we have the authentic wheel, so yes, all the details like I mentioned. Pretty good looking car. It didn't sell too well because the previous generation of Laguna was not that great, I'm gonna call it that way, and so yeah, and even though this one was much more improved, the name was tarnished, and that's why after that they changed the name. So yeah, pretty nice. And we have a tow hook for trailer, for my Norev trailer that doesn't exist. Good job, Norev. Last one, and we're gonna stay with Renault. And we can remove this. We have the Renault Twingo from 2007 also. Oh, by the way, I've told you that I knew that this 5-pack came from 2009 or 10 based on the car sitting inside. But yeah, so yeah, the Renault Twingo, second gen Renault Twingo. So again, we have the suspension and no metal base. We didn't have any metal base on them. On earlier Norev, you had the metal base, but it was phased out later. That's why I said that that's how I can date that particular pack. So yeah, the Twingo, city car which started its life in the 1990s with that particular gen. That's also a Norev, very fresh and funky looking car for its day. There were a second gen, this one, which was, a bit more tame, I'm gonna say. And there were one more subsequent generation, also kinda blind looking. I don't have this one, I need to. And this year they revealed the fourth gen, which is a bit of a throwback car to this one, the first gen, and it's electric, obviously. But back to 2007. So very nice. We have a not bad interior. Steering wheel is not that great. I mean, the shape is good, but it's a bit morphed with the gauge cluster, which is something that Norev often do. But other than that, dashboard is pretty good. And again, we have an opening part. So yeah, we're gonna do that. And you know what? We're gonna add the Twingo one here. Next up, we're gonna move to yes. So next up, we're gonna take a look at three cars from the brand Novacar. So that's gonna sound a bit unfamiliar to you, maybe. So Novacar was a bit of a sub-brand to Maserati back in the 90s when they purchased a Portuguese diecast maker and their factory, so to produce some cheapened version of Maserati, and that's what we have on front of you. So some of their casting were directly taken from Maserati but cheapened out, like these two, because these two are previously existing casting, but in a cheaper way. And so we're gonna do a comparison. So we have a Chevrolet Corvette C4. So this is the Maserati, and this is the Novacar. You can see Novacar and the casting number 103, and you can see we have a very metal based, but it's a very light metal, and that body is plastic. But you can see it's pretty much the same casting, I think. We don't have the opening part anymore. Taillights are a bit different, so they did change a few stuff. So this is meant to be a Corvette ZR1, so this one is not, although they claim it's supposed to be. It's just a tempo on the already existing C4 casting. So we have a very cheap interior with no steering wheel on this one, and we do have a steering wheel on this one. And this one is no, it's not made in France anymore, but earlier version were. In this one it doesn't say, but like I said, these were made in Portugal. And yes, all they did had so there are some few change, but yeah, it's based on the same casting, but they change some stuff. So like I said, yes, some of these Novacar casting were unique, or were not unique, I should have said, based on the actual Maserati casting, but modified. But there were also a different case, like some casting which start their life in the Novacar lineup and then became a Maserati casting. I'm thinking, for instance, of the Honda NSX, which I don't have an example. And what gonna matter to us? Oh, I forgot to show you that one. So again, it was an already existing casting from Maserati, the Chevrolet Impala. So again, we have that cheap metal base and plastic body, and no opening part anymore. And yeah, so what I was saying before stopping myself, yes, some of the Novacar casting were stayed as a Novacar casting, which means that there were no Maserati version of them, and one of them is very interesting, and it's this one. So this one is particularly interesting because, like I said, there were no majored version, and also you might think that it's a pretty uninteresting generic white sedan, but no, it's not. So this is a Peugeot 605, and what you have to know about this casting, this is the only Peugeot 605 which have been done in 2-inch or 1/64 scale type of scale for now. Maybe one day a manufacturer gonna do one. I have my doubt, but we'll see. So for now we're gonna have to only have this one, at least if you care about the car, which I do. And yeah. So what is the 605? It was Peugeot flagship sedan of the basically 90s. It came out in late 89 and it was sold until 2000. It was a successor to the Peugeot 604, which you guys gonna say makes sense. And here you can see the 604, which was more of a 70s, 80s car. That's a Norev. There were a bit of a gap between these two, actually, but yeah. And so 605, I think I've explained that in a previous video, but I guess I have some new viewers, so I can explain that again. The way that Peugeot called their car is following. So it's always, or at least often, a 3-digit number with always one, or I guess it's sometimes a 4 number, but that's only for the SUV and whatever. But let's stay simple. So yes, so we start with a number, which usually means the segment, you know. So the bigger the number is, the larger the car is, or at least in a segment type of point of view. So you know, your 1 of 6 or 2 or 8 will be your city car, and this being the 6 or something, it's their flagship car. Now I will say that there were also some Peugeot 8 something, like this one, that's the 807, which was a minivan, and the 900 name was also used, but only for a concept car and racing car. Legendary the Peugeot 905, which won the 24 Hours of Le Mans back in the early 90s. Anyway, so we have a O in the middle, or 2 of them sometimes, like I said, and lastly the last number is for the generation, basically. So which means that back in the 90s, for instance, in case of this one, you had a 205, a 305, etc. Now sometimes it can get a bit more complicated than that, but I won't get more in detail because that's already complicated enough. And yeah, so I'm quite happy to have this car, even though it's a very basic casting and not a true representation of the Peugeot 605, the Peugeot flagship of the 90s, like I said, which its direct competitor would have been the Renault Safran, which Majoret also did, which was less. So basically, like I said, we had 3 flagship 7 from the French manufacturer. You had the 605, which was a more conventional car. You had the Citroen XM, which obviously was the weirder one, and the Renault Safran, which was a bit in the middle of both of them. So yeah. I think we're gonna stop now because we are at 30 minutes now, and like I said, I don't want to do too much of a long video, but like I said, we're gonna have a part 2 for the following car, which I have again many things to say.
And we're gonna add these two.
And yeah, I hope that you enjoy watching the video. I hope that you like my stories and all of my extra cars that I like to show you. And yeah, that's not really in the spot. Anyway, thanks for watching.